Hello everybody, my name is Ruby and today I'm going to show you guys a little trick for sidechaining that I've been using while I've been playing with FL Studio. So here's the little beat I made, right? You could definitely use some sidechaining. If you don't know what sidechaining is, basically, when I say sidechaining, I don't mean literal sidechaining. Usually what that means is it's taking a signal from another track and bringing it into another one to use to control an effect or whatever. But especially in EDM, when a lot of people say that, what they mean is ducking the bass to the kick to create that like pumping sound. But what it can also do is help clean up a mix, because the subfrequencies of your kick won't be combating the subfrequencies of your bass, right? But so the reason it's called sidechaining is because people will often take a compressor onto the sub and sidechain the kick into that. That way the compressor turns the volume of the sub down when the kick hits. But the reason that's not very good is because you don't have a lot of control over the curve, and sometimes compressors can introduce distortion when hit really hard or things like that. So today we're going to be using a little patch I made to duck the volume with an automation curve. Here in my routing setup, you see I have all these, right? I have 3 channels that I mix into. I have a drum bus that goes into the pre-master. My sub goes into bass, and then all my synths go into high, all the drums go into the drum bus, and the drum bus goes into the pre-master. So I want to sidechain everything but the drums, and splitting the subs from everything else makes it so I can sidechain the subs harder than the rest of it to help really free up that low end. Now you can just sidechain it all to one channel if you want. So I'm actually going to do that really quick as an example. So we're going to start by making a channel to sidechain into. Make it yellow. That's a gross yellow, whatever. I'm going to dock it to the left. That way it stays on here. Dock to left. There it goes. So we're going to let our drum bus go to the pre-master or the master, whatever your setup is, right? We don't want the drums to be sidechained, or we don't want the drum bus to be sidechained. So my kick's still going to the drum bus. Yeah. So the sub, we're going to put that in the sidechain channel, and we're going to put the synth stab into the sidechain channel. So these 2 synths are going to be sidechained to the kick, or sidechained to whatever you want. You can create the curves to follow whatever pattern, right? So if we see this now, if we solo, we can hear it's just those. Yeah, cool. Come on, there we go. I'm not used to FL Studio. I come from Ableton. So on this sidechain channel now, we're gonna add a patcher. Cool. And then over here, notice I put it on the very end. That's because any extra things you might want to do on this bus, you'll want the ducking to happen afterwards. So I made a little preset. Can I open it in here? Yeah. Okay. It's called Ruby Duck, because that's my name and it's a ducker. What an idea. So it's basically some simple math. Not simple for me. It took me a minute to figure out because I don't do math very well. But basically it's taking the input from these and it's going to map it to a fruity balance. The math is to cap the volume at 0 and also control the depth of the ducking. So basically what this lets us do is this knob controls how far down the volume will go, and this is what we're going to automate, right? So if I open up the balance, you can see if I pull this down, the volume's going down, and then if I pull this down and then pull it down, nothing happens. This is the lowest that it'll go, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to right click the macro. We're going to create an automation clip. We're going to make it about the length of our kick or whatever we want to sidechain to. And the great part about this method is you can put it next to your kick and you can shape it specifically to fit your kick, right? So maybe we want it to duck really hard for this transient and then kind of come back. Yeah, and then the great thing about FL Studio 21, if you guys are on that yet, is if you double click an automation clip, it'll open in this window, And this is why I think automation in FL Studio 21 is really the best way to sidechain. It's because you can set this clip to modulate multiple things at once, right? So if I delete this sidechain channel, is there a way to do that in FL Studio? I don't know. Okay, so I'm going to route these all back the way I had them. So sub's going to go back to base. Stab's going to go back to high. So sidechain, yeah, it should be doing nothing. So on the base, I'm actually going to, if I go over to the left, I think, plugin presets, effects, patcher, Rubyduck. Okay, so I'm going to put that on both my bass and my high, not the pre-master, because I don't want the drums to be affected by it at all. So now what we can do with these open is in the automation, you can add a source. You just hit the plus and then move what you want it to automate. And now you can see this single automation clip is doing all of these, right? But what we can do, because this one's on the high, we can turn down the maximum on the high a little bit. That way it doesn't duck all the way to 0, but maybe for the sub, I do want it to duck all the way to 0, right? And so now we're just going to copy this automation and we're going to put it everywhere we want the sidechain to hit. Now this is pretty simple because it's a 4 on the floor beat, right? And that makes a huge difference if I mute it. The kick and the bass mesh together really well. And then of course, because of the way FL Studio works about this with the channel rack and stuff, say you're really zoomed out and you want to work on these automations, you can just open the channel rack, switch to automation, open the trigger, and then you can just keep editing the curve here. I think this is on by default, where if you add a point, it moves the whole thing. But if you click this, if you turn it off so it's not lit up, you can adjust the shape and this endpoint won't move at all, which is very, very useful. Now, this trick and this patcher preset should work in FL Studio 20 or 12, whatever version you're using. You just won't get this pop-up window. This one and the ability to map it to multiple things. That is new in FL Studio 21. But this is the best way to sidechain, in my opinion, because you can start doing different kick patterns, right? So say over here you wanted like, okay, I am clearly not understanding how FL Studio works. So maybe you want something like this, right? Okay, that sounds kind of bad, but you get my point. You can adjust the sidechain to match whatever pattern you want. Right? So that's why this is better, I think, than using gross beat, because you can put it wherever you want. And it's not MIDI triggered either. So if you want to take the kick out for some effect, and still have a sidechain, you can. So this video might have been way longer than I meant it to, where it might have been all over the place and kind of messy, but I hope it taught you something cool, and I hope it was helpful in some way. So if you did think it was helpful, drop a like, subscribe if you want to, because I'm going to be making more music content in the future, hopefully, and I'll see you next time.